The wind whistled through the masts of the Endurance, whipping the deck with gusts of razor-sharp snow. In the distance, the ice creaked with a chilling sound, as if Antarctica itself were alive and about to devour them. Ernest Shackleton, staring out at the endless white horizon, felt a chill run down his spine. It wasn't the cold, but the certainty that something was wrong. The ship, his only refuge on the most hostile continent on the planet, was trapped in a prison of ice. He didn't know it yet, but his journey would become one of the greatest stories of human endurance ever told. The dream of crossing Antarctica. In 1914, Sir Ernest Shackleton, an experienced British polar explorer, embarked on what would be his most ambitious expedition, to cross Antarctica on foot, from one end to the other. His team, made up of 27 brave men, boarded the Endurance, a ship designed to withstand the relentless polar ice. The plan was ambitious and dangerous. Shackleton had already attempted to conquer the South Pole on previous expeditions, but had been surpassed by the Norwegian Roald Amundsen in 1911. Now, his goal was even greater, not only to reach the pole, but to cross the frozen continent. But Antarctica had other plans. The White Hell. In January 1915, the Endurance was trapped in the Weddell Sea, hundreds of miles from civilization. The ice closed in around it, immobilizing the ship like a death trap. For months, the crew waited for the ice pressure to ease and allow them to continue moving forward. However, the Antarctic winter brought only perpetual darkness and extreme temperatures. The ship's wood creaked with each pressure of the ice. On the 27th of October, 1915, after enduring months of unbearable strain, the Endurance succumbed. The structure split, icy water invaded its bowels, and the ship began to slowly sink into the frozen abyss. With no shelter but the ice itself, Shackleton and his men were forced to camp on the vast expanse of floating pack ice. They were adrift in an ice desert with no way to communicate with the outside world. A fight for survival. With the Endurance lost, Shackleton made a crucial decision. They had to find dry land. Their only hope was to drag 3 small lifeboats across the ice to open water. But the journey was a torment. The heavy vessels became stuck in the snow, and the freezing temperatures made every step an ordeal. After weeks of grueling effort, they abandoned the idea of dragging the boats and decided to wait for the ice to carry them out to sea. The crew hunted seals and penguins for food, and Shackleton kept morale high with optimistic speeches. But the reality was terrifying. With each passing day, the chances of rescue faded. Finally, in April 1916, the ice broke up enough for the men to board the lifeboats. With no detailed maps and facing rough seas, they sailed to Elephant Island, a desolate, storm-tossed piece of land. It was a brutal journey. For 7 days and 7 nights, the men battled giant waves and freezing winds. The voyage of the last hope. Elephant Island was inhospitable and lacked sufficient resources to sustain the crew for long. Shackleton knew that his only option was to go in search of help. He selected 5 of his best men, and, in the boat James Caird, he set out on a desperate 1,300-kilometer journey to South Georgia Island, where there was a whaling station. This journey was undoubtedly one of the most incredible in the history of navigation. For 16 days, the men endured terrifying storms, sub-zero temperatures, and a sea that threatened to swallow them up at any moment. Their clothes were soaked, their bodies on the verge of collapse, but their determination did not waver. When they finally sighted South Georgia Island, their relief was immense. But there was still one last obstacle. They had to cross the island on foot, traversing unknown mountains and glaciers without maps or proper equipment. The miraculous rescue. On May 20, 1916, Shackleton and his men reached the whaling station at Stromness. After more than a year in Antarctica, they were finally safe. But Shackleton had one last mission, to return for his men on Elephant Island. It was not easy. He attempted several rescues, but the frozen sea prevented access. Finally, on the 30th of August, 1916, after 4 attempts, he managed to reach the ship with a Chilean ship, the Yelko. When the crew on Elephant Island saw the smoke from the ship approaching, They knew that their leader had kept his promise. He would leave no one behind. Every one of the 27 men was rescued. Despite the horrors experienced, Shackleton did not lose a single member of his crew. Ernest Shackleton's story is not just an epic adventure, but a testament to the power of leadership, resilience, and human will. His actions during the expedition prove that, even in the worst of circumstances, courage and determination can mean the difference between life and death. Today, his story continues to inspire explorers, leaders, and people around the world. His motto: strength is resistance to fear. Mastery of fear, but not the absence of fear, is an everlasting reminder of what it means to be a true leader in times of crisis.